Ollie was taking the weekend off, and he decided to do something that he hadn't really done a whole lot of. That was to play video games. Did a little bit of searching around, looking for opinions. He had a pretty decent computer that was good enough to play some good games. And he settled on a game called Portal 2, because the reviews were really good, and from what he could understand about the game, it wasn't a violent game. There was puzzles, and that supposedly the gameplay was really fun, and it was just a really fun game. And also that it wasn't super long, because he kind of wanted a game that he could pick up, learn, and beat all in one weekend. So he settled on that, and so he got the game, and he played it, and it really met all those qualifications, and he had a good time. But there's one major thing in the game that bugged him, and that was the setup. Because in the game, the main character is asleep in suspended animation for some period of time. And the game doesn't tell you how long. Shh, Elsa. Elsa, hush. The game doesn't tell you how long. The game never tells you how long. There are a few hints here and there, but they're pretty indirect and pretty inconclusive. And Ollie enjoyed the game, but he had to know how long was the main character asleep. He started off by searching around on forums and stuff like that. But A, that was tedious. And B, he wasn't getting any good answers. And he thought, I need to go to the source. So he looked up the company that made it. Elsa, stop flopping around right now. It's a company called Valve. They're based out in Washington State. It's a bit of a hike. So I did some research about who the writers and producers were of the game. I tried to give him a call, but he couldn't get through to anybody. There wasn't really a mechanism at the company for, fans to call in with questions. So he kind of put it aside. He took down his notes and set it aside. He thought, the next time I'm out in Washington, I'll follow this up. And a couple months later, as it turns out, he was out in Washington. There had been another case where a client had flown him all the way out there to work on a mystery about a cat and a weasel. And so while he was there, he said, do you mind if I have my return flight be in like a week and a half instead of being right now? And the guy said, no, that's fine, whatever. Do what you want. So, after all, he solved that case, which took a couple days. He set to this case. He found the headquarters of Valve, and he just walked right in. It was a little bit tough to figure out the structure of it, because it was just like a bunch of people everywhere. And he asked a couple people who the boss was, and they all said that he didn't really have a direct boss, but the company was owned by so-and-so or whatever. He looked up the company a little bit and read that they have this like flat, decentralized organization structure. And so he would realize he was asking the wrong question, is the point. He didn't really care who the boss was. He wanted to know where the writers on Portal 2 were. And he remembered that he had that information. So he asked. He said, I'm looking for, and he gave the name of the writers. And one of the people said, oh, well, I'm one of those people. I said, okay, that's great. I have a question. Like I said, okay, sure, whatever, you're here. This question is important enough. You've managed to make your way out here and talk your way into the door. So what's your question? What do you want to know? I want to know how long the main character was asleep. Ah, that. I don't have a good answer for you. My part of it was a lot of writing the dialogue, like things that the characters say. Yeah, I'm trying to think of who's the right person to talk to about that. You should try Phil. I feel like Phil was more involved in the world building part. And so Ollie went over and he talked to and found Phil. Took a little bit of finding to figure out where everybody was because once again, the company wasn't super organized, so it wasn't like the same exact people that worked on Portal 2 were now working on a different game. But eventually he found this Phil person. Yes, Phil. I'm told that you're the guy to talk to about Portal 2 world building. He said, yeah, sorry, who are you? I said, I'm a private eye, and I just played Portal 2, beat the whole thing in a weekend, and I need to know how long the main character was asleep. Oh, well, suspended animation, technically, not sleep exactly, but, yeah. Well, that's a difficult question to answer. We kind of left it vague on purpose. Oh, I said, well, yeah, I mean, I get that, but I need to know. I said, why? I said, because I'm a private eye. I'm not good at leaving mysteries unsolved. I said, okay, I mean, well, let me think about it. I mean, the game has been out for a handful of years now. Maybe it's all right. Well, okay. We never made anything official, but in my head anyway, the main character was asleep for 230 years. When I said that, another voice popped up from around from the other side of the office. I said, 230 years? But what about all those nines? The nines? Yeah. In the intro sequence, the computer starts to say how long the main character's been asleep, and then starts just rattling off nines, and that's when the Wheatley busts in and interrupts. Oh, yeah, I guess I do remember that. I guess how I was interpreted that as being like an error, like the computer was having some sort of fit. I said, no, I think it's meant to be like thousands of years. And then another person came up, a lady. Her name was Gina. And I said, well, I mean, yeah, I've wondered about that too. I don't think it could be thousands of years, though. I mean, accepting the in-world universe, right? And the two other people said, yeah. If it's all, based on the technology that they're showing, I mean, the real-world parts of the technology, there's no way that stuff would work for thousands of years. I don't even know that it would work for hundreds of years. I always tended to think that it was like maybe 30 years. So I said, no, it's got to be more than 30 years. And as they kept on sort of discussing back and forth, Ollie realized that none of these three people could give him a definitive answer. Ollie interrupted and said, look, I know that it's a fictional universe and you left it vague on purpose, but somebody at some point had to make a decision and then decide to keep the timeline vague. But to do the in-world continuity stuff, you would have had to have picked at some point. But, for that, you probably do need to talk to the boss. I said, the actual boss, the owner of the company? He said, yeah. I mean, he doesn't get involved in every game, but because Portal 1 was such a hit and he really liked it, he got involved in Portal 2. And I feel like if anybody can give a definitive answer, it's got to be him. I said, do you think I could get a meeting with him? I said, well, truth be told, I'm not sure how you got in the building. And I'm not sure how you managed to gather 3 of the people on the team just to talk about this. I said, actually, 4. I was talking to when you gave the name of the first person earlier. I said, yeah, see, so if you can pull that off, I feel like at this point, you might as well carry the ball across the finish line and go talk to the boss. As he went on the way, 2 other people that had been listening to the conversation came along. I said, I've got to know too, man. I've been wondering this since I started working here. So they went upstairs and knocked on the door. I said, yeah, come on in. What's up? I said, hey, boss. I said, whoa. What's going on? Is everything okay? We saw this big group of people coming in. And Phil said, oh, yeah, no, it's okay. Everything's fine. This is Ollie. I said, oh, okay. I didn't realize we had visitors today, but hello, Ollie. Are you a fan? I said, well, kind of, yeah, but mostly I'm a private eye. Oh, is everything all right? Is something gone wrong? I said, no. I said, no. Truth is, I am mostly a fan in this case. I don't play a lot of video games. I just played all the way through Portal 2. And I'm dying to know, I've got to know, how long the main character was in suspended animation. And Phil piped up and said, yeah, and, we all kind of, I guess, had different ideas, I was saying that it was like 230. He was saying that it was like thousands of years. Gina thought that realistically it could only be like 30-ish years, you said, Gina? I said, yeah, I was thinking 30. But we all kind of figured that you would know for certain what the official line is. And the boss said, yeah, I suppose I do. But the thing is, it's a closely guarded secret. I said, really? I said, yeah, you got to leave a little bit of mystery. You got to leave people wondering. For one thing, we want to open up the possibility of another sequel. The games were really fun to make and really fun to play. But even beyond that, I think people like a little bit of mystery, a little bit of unknown, a little bit of something they can get in a group of friends with and debate. So I can tell you the official decision, but you can't tell anybody else. I said, all right, that's a deal. I don't need to tell anybody else. I just need to know. I said, all right. Well, to the extent that I'm the authority as the owner of the company and the executive on that game, I say that the protagonist was asleep for 329 years. That's 329 years. Why so specific? Because, like you said, there's got to be an answer. And as we were writing this game, I decided that had to be the answer. It had to be long enough that things would be rusting and falling apart, but short enough that you could imagine, if you could imagine a company, an engineering company, sophisticated enough to build a portal game, a portal gun, you could also imagine them being able to build stuff that would last for that long. You could imagine it. It's not realistic, I know. You're right about that, Gina, but you can imagine it. So that's the number that I set in my head. And that's the number that I did my, last round of checks around. So, Ollie, I hope you haven't come too far out of your way. I said, I was in town anyway, but it was worth the effort to me. I said, well, I appreciate your interest, and I appreciate your discretion. And I don't know how you got in the building, but, here, tell you what, here's my card. Next time you're in town, if you want to come and visit and talk games, send me an email first. But you seem like an interesting character, and maybe we might have some ideas to share. I feel like a talking octopus private eyes maybe got some stories to tell that we could turn into video game levels. I said, that's an interesting thought. I said, well, if you want to talk now, maybe we go get a cup of coffee? I said, sure. I never turned down a cup of coffee. And off they went. And that was Ollie and the mystery of Portal 2.